This program is suitable for general viewing.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It is Friday, the 22nd of September. A very good morning to everyone who's watching. This is the Muslim Insight, the show that brings you your weekly news recap as well as a review of today's Friday bulletin. Before we give you the news for the week, first let's give you the headlines.
Their family is not understanding sign language, so the only place they find they can express themselves well is the school.
Special Needs School. Islamic Basir Special Needs School for Muslims, pioneering education for deaf and autistic children in Nairobi. First graduation ceremony. Jamia Mosque Nairobi Sign Language Center holds first graduation ceremony.
We want to have a discussion about how does Islamic fiscal law contribute to development needs? How does it help build Kenya's capacity to become a leading economic giant?
Poverty eradication. Committee on Fiscal Studies call for Islamic finance to solve Kenya's poverty challenges.
Thank you for that. My name is Nadia Osman and my sign language interpreter is Ilhan Noor. Now on our top story, the Committee on Fiscal Studies held an Islamic conference at Jamia Mosque Nairobi on Saturday. The conference aimed at leveraging the Islamic finance and Islamic financial instruments to address rising public debt in Kenya and beyond. Speaking during the event, Leila Latif, the Chair Committee on Fiscal Studies, said Islamic finance, particularly the institution of Zakah, has a transformative potential in combating poverty in Kenya.
The conference explored the transformative potential of Islamic finance and its application in modern financial landscapes.
Zakah should be put in one basket, because when it's in one basket, it will have an impact because many people will come together. But we giving differently on our own ways or to our own people, it's creating a form of dependency. Zakah is supposed to elevate the life of that person. For example, if we give out 1,000 shillings to somebody who is in need, you have not solved that problem. That's the first aid you have done to him.
In an interview with the Muslim Insight, Leila Latif, the Chair Committee on Fiscal Studies, said the conference aims at addressing the pressing issues of rising public debt in Kenya and other regions through the ethical principles of Islamic finance, including risk sharing, sustainable growth, and responsible financial practices.
This is where we get the chance to now start debating scholarship ideals about what is the role of Islam and Islamic fiscal law as part of zakat, sukuk, and Islamic digital coins. We want to have a discussion about how does Islamic fiscal law contribute to development needs? How does it help build Kenya's capacity to become a leading economic giant with that sort of a understanding, not only from the Constitution of Kenya, but also from, the Muslim texts as well as human rights law.
The conference brought together experts, scholars, practitioners, policymakers, and enthusiasts in Islamic finance with the aim of fostering insightful dialogues, engaging presentations, and strategic collaborations that offer concrete solutions to the challenge of public debt.
And according to the UN statistics, they say that they only need $300 billion to eradicate poverty and hunger. So imagine if Muslims will pay their zakat of 2.5%, it will be trillions of dollars. So the solution to this is establishing the institution of zakah.
We've come to an agreement that yes, as Muslims, we have a role to play in the society we live in. As Muslims, we have the ability to be able to look at Sharia law and ask ourselves, where do we take it in terms of helping our countries, even if it's Kenya or is any other country in the Africa region, to be able to become fiscally strong. So we've talked about zakat a lot today, sukuk a lot today, and we're trying to establish the way forward. Where do we go forward with leveraging these Islamic financial instruments in Kenya as part of Kenya's economic recovery program, and to reduce and minimize our reliance on debt, and to take away the shackles of heavy taxation that are coming our way.
Hassan Makoha, a representative from Zakat Kenya, an organization focused on empowering the community through zakat, said zakat can be harnessed as a potent instrument for poverty reduction in Kenya if it is well collected.
We were giving zakat once a year of 30,000. But alhamdulillah, due to the effort of awareness, we are giving out zakat thrice a year, and the gauge is 125,000 per person. So you can see now it is rising because of the awareness.
The event highlighted the acute poverty challenges the country is facing and how zakat can serve as a target solution to alleviate the suffering of the most vulnerable.
Because every Muslim society has a community, and the community has its own methods of, distributing zakat amongst their community members. Other people distribute zakat to the mosques, others to faith-based organizations. We want us all to come together and put this zakat under one fund, and then we use this fund to now finance those development concerns and goals that are of most critical value to the Kenyan society.
Zakat is the third pillar of Islam, and it is a social responsibility that is considered part of one's service to Allah. Zakat equals 2.5% of an individual's total net worth, excluding obligations and family expenses. Reporting for Muslim Insight, my name is Mariam Musa.
Thank you for that report, Mariam. Now moving on, the Muslim Education Council held a stakeholders meeting for madrasa education on Saturday at Jamia Mosque, Nairobi, where it announced the registration exercise for all madrasas and duksis in the country. Speaking on Saturday at Jamia Multipurpose Hall during a madrasa sensitization seminar, the Muslim Education Council's leadership called on the management of the madrasas and duksis to cooperate in the registration exercise initiated by the council to promote a quality madrasa education and pave way for the infrastructure development. The 2013 Basic Education Act recognizes madrasas and duksis as formal schools.
The stakeholders meeting aimed to deliberate on the progress made in mainstreaming madrasa provision into the formal education system, brought together leaders from Muslim organizations and representatives from all the 47 counties.
For the first time, we called all the representatives of the county education boards in the country to come over so that we can have a consultative meeting with them and sensitize them on the very, very important document, the Kenya Madrasa Curriculum, which, as you know, has been approved by the Ministry of Education. It is now a government document, and it is being implemented.
And then the other reason why we bring this reps together is for them to go back home and sensitize those people at home about the curriculum. So they know that we have this curriculum, because duksis and madrasas are recognized in the Constitution as providers of basic education.
According to Dr. Hassan Ngeri, an MEC executive member said the registration and monitoring of madrasa is necessary in order to weed out unsuitable institutions and practices.
Now, the main reason we are doing this is we want to have data of all the madrasas in the country so that we can start implementing the unified curriculum that has been approved by the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development. We already have developed workbooks. We are in the process of publishing the books. Hopefully by the end of the year, the books will be ready so that we run a curriculum that is unified in all the madrasas in the country.
He said the Muslim Education Council will provide guidance and support to madrasas and duksis to ensure quality and consistency in their education.
Sensitizing them on the importance of going out there and sensitizing the madrasas in the country to register with the Muslim Education Council. And why should the madrasas register? There are so many benefits. One of them is that they'll be able to use the madrasa curriculum, which is approved by the government, and nobody can then ask them questions, what are you teaching? Because that's not the normal question, which is only all the time asked.
The curriculum is examinable by Kenya Institute of Education, and two, we are going to have a unified curriculum in the country so that when a kid from Mombasa comes to Nairobi, they don't need to go through another curriculum. Just like the national Ministry of Education curriculum, this will cover the whole country, and therefore we are giving out the same education to the children of this country in all areas, right from grade 1 up to grade 6.
The vice chairman said the madrasa curriculum is based on competency-based curriculum, CBC, with a 2-6-3-3 structure comprising of the Rauda, Ibtidai Mutawasit, Thanawi and Jamiat levels respectively.
Thank you for that report. Now on to more happy news. A total of 6 students at Jamia Mosque Nairobi Sign Language Center have graduated after successfully completing the Sign Language Interpretation basic course. The students graduated with certificates in the Kenya Sign Language after 6 months of studying at the Jamia Mosque Sign Language Center. The Sign Language Center offers basic and advanced sign language courses, which also include Islamic signs and expressions. Jamia Mosque, Nairobi, Abdul Wahab Ali urged Muslims to learn sign language to effectively help and communicate with the hearing impaired members of the society. Abdul Wahab further called upon mosques across the country to initiate programs to cater for the welfare of hearing impaired members of the society and the physical challenges, as they are an integral part of the society. The University of Nairobi was the examiner of the Kenya Sign Language basic course. Very, very good news. Now, the Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi has lauded the humanitarian work that the Red Cross and Red Crescent networks have been doing in Africa to elevate the suffering in communities in Kenya. He said the Red Cross has been a key partner and much more than a partner, rather an enormous contribution to the social economic development of the country. He made the remarks on Sunday when he pressed over the 10th Pan-Africa Conference of the International Federation of the Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies in Nairobi.
Climate change is not a theoretical subject, but a reality of our daily lives. That is why Africa held the Climate Summit to prepare Africa's position for COP28. Conversations will center on the deliberations of the Africa Climate Summit. Particularly, you will speak to the Pan-African initiatives which touch on scaling up of climate environmental solutions, such as cleaning and greening. Second, enhancing local readiness to respond to disasters. Third, achieving hunger resilience through the Zero Hunger Initiative. And fourth, how to address migration and population movement in the continent.
This conference has been a catalyst for innovative solutions to the ever-evolving humanitarian challenges our continent faces, facilitating greater coordination among Red Cross and Red Crescent societies in Africa, and by promoting a deeper understanding of the humanitarian principles we all hold dear.
The conference is happening against the backdrop of very unfortunate events in Morocco and in Libya, one earthquake and the floods that affected Libya, where over 20,000 people are feared to have died. Second, we have put in place contingency plans as the Red Cross, National Red Cross institutions, in collaboration with our partners in the global community, to put in place mechanisms for preparedness, for pre-positioning, for working with our communities on early warning interventions, early action interventions, in collaborations with both local governments at the county level and the national government.
Thank you for that report. Now, the Kenya Women Teachers Association, KEWOTA, has opened an office in Garissa County to empower female teachers and promote girl-child education. The Kenya Women Teachers Association, that fights for the welfare of teachers, says matters of education cannot be left to the government alone. The government and other stakeholders have been challenged to do more to empower female teachers working in the northeastern region, as well as promote girl-child education.
Speaking at County High School in Garissa during the official opening of the office, KEWOTA National Coordinator Saboke Dunstan said that girl-child education was still under threat due to retrogressive cultural practices like FGM and early marriages remaining the biggest threat to girl-child education.
We have realized that several girls have been affected by earlier marriages due to poverty and other things. So, as KEWOTA, we have come here to assure the people of Northeastern, especially this Garissa County, that we are on the ground. We have conducted free and fair elections. We are going to create an office in Garissa that will be able to tackle any challenges that the female teachers are undergoing.
Dunstan, who is also the programming officer, said that young girls who have been subjected to any form of abuse must be assisted to go back to school, as well as offered psychological support.
Kenya women teachers, we say no to gender-based violence, and the FGM, which has been a problem in measuring the arid areas, we have come a way that we can help those young children, young girls, to go back to school.
He said many female teachers are suffering in silence after being subjected to gender-based violence, stating that the new office will work closely with other stakeholders to tackle the challenges both the female teachers and the girls face.
One of the products is that we are going to sensitize women on gender-based violence, whereby we are coming to talk to them to know their rights as women and rights of a girl child. Also, we are going to empower them financially by empowering them economically, whereby we are starting merry-go-rounds, and then the KEWOTA will come in by bringing in money to support women.
Abdibare Aden, the Deputy Principal County High School, said gender-based violence, FGM and early marriages are the biggest threat to girl-child education in the region.
FGM and early marriages has been a problem. It has been a threat to girl-child education in this region. And we are hoping that KEWOTA will help us bring more girls to school.
Reporting for Muslim Insight, my name is Zahira Abdi.
Thank you, Zahira, for that report. Now, in an effort towards supporting female students in Nairobi, Homescope Hostels, situated in South C, Nairobi, held a women empowerment program aimed at fostering an inclusive and conducive environment for female students, as well as eliminating accommodation barriers during their academic pursuits. The primary goal of the hostel is to provide a secure and comfortable environment for young women pursuing their education within Nairobi.
We facilitated a lecture for mothers talking about the importance of fostering a good environment for our Muslim daughters. The importance of such events is because we recognize our responsibility as a society in general to foster a good environment and to foster a safe environment for our female students. And which is why we decided to use this hostel as a platform to create awareness and benefit mothers. Aside from that, we also recognize our responsibility at an institutional level, which is why we decided to found this hostel in the first place. When we first started this project, the intention in mind was clear. we were trying to eliminate the barrier of accommodation to female students when pursuing their education and trying to fulfill the dreams. We can see this intention manifesting in our facilities and in the way that we manage our facilities. We're trying to provide an environment where a female student can not only thrive personally, but also professionally and spiritually. Aside from the spacious rooms that we also offer a prayer room, we have study rooms, and we have transport services, a bus that takes our female students to and from university with ease and total convenience.
As a student, actually, for you being in this environment and attending such a da'wah and at least benefiting from it, wallahi, it will inspire you, give you a lot of courage at least to just attend more da'was and everything else. Yeah, mashallah.
Very good story. Now moving on, Lancet series has released a prevention report on small vulnerable newborns. The series calls for standardization of data technology and quality prenatal information as national preventive measures to curb the high rate of newborn too small or too soon that currently stands at the highest rate at 20% in sub-Saharan Africa. Globally, 1 in every 4 babies in the world is either born too small or born too soon, accounting for 1.9 million stillbirths and 1.4 million newborn deaths annually. Speaking during the launch of the Lancet series in Kenya, Ministry of Health Acting Head Division of Health Informatics, Dr. Job Nyegema, said the government is committed to implementing preventive measures.
What you don't know, Mercy, is when you have a stillborn, it means you have botched her prenatal care. When you have a neonatal loss, it means you have a labor-related or childbirth-related complication. This is where data comes in, very critically. Routine data, where you need to be actually having it available. So can we revisit our tools? And I want to emphasize here, the baby doesn't come alone. The baby must be twinned with the mother all the time.
It is possible for counties to buy machines. It's possible to have every center that is seeing pregnant women to have an ultrasound machine, but that is exactly not what is happening. According to the WHO guidelines, the revised guidelines, they say every pregnant woman should have an ultrasound done by the 24th week. But is it what is happening? Not.
Quality of antenatal care is very important. Getting women early to attend. Kenya is doing very well. 90% of women do attend antenatal care, but they should go early. Number 2, if they go early and we have ultrasound available, which is one of the WHO recommendations, then we can measure the length of the pregnancy, gestational age, which makes a big difference in the management, birth plan, quality of care.
Thank you for that. Now moving on, in a remarkable stride towards inclusive education, Sami Basir, a special needs school for Muslims in Nairobi's Eastleigh area, the first of its kind in the city, is catering exclusively to deaf children and children with autism. The Sami Basir Special School aims to provide quality education and support to children who have long been marginalized due to their unique challenges. Among the heartwarming stories at the school that emerged during our interview was that Abdul Fattah Ali, a young man who was born with the ability to hear, but technically lost his hearing as a result of a devastating bomb blast in Somalia.
Abdul Fattah's journey to Samek Bashir Special Needs School was filled with hardships. After the tragic incident, he faced communication barriers, struggled to adapt to a world without sound, and often felt isolated from his peers. However, his life took a positive turn when he was enrolled at the school. Here, he found a community that embraced his uniqueness and provided the tools he needed to thrive.
I was born hearing. When I was young, I became deaf after a bomb explosion in Somalia. My family does not know any sign language. We communicate by lips reading.
The school's curriculum focuses on a holistic approach to education, integrating academics with therapies tailored to meet the needs of deaf and autistic students.
The need of the deaf school, special education is very rare in our community. Some parents come to us asking whether we can educate those who have autism. When we have seen some parents in need and they have deaf kids, we started, and then alhamdulillah right now we have nearly 40 students in that class, and day by day admission is going on. So what compelled us is that we have seen some learners who are at home and don't have any access to education. After we have seen that tragedy and that problem, we started this school. And most of the kids are orphans. Some are coming from refugee camps also, they are refugees. Some are coming from big family that cannot afford school fees. We support them.
Sign language classes are a fundamental part of the curriculum, enabling students like Abdul Fattah to communicate effectively and engage with their peers.
Some of the challenges we face is actually communication. I think the children face lots of communication when they are talking to their parents, because you find that the parents are not understanding sign language, their family is not understanding sign language, so the only place they find they can express themselves well is the school.
Adaani, director of Rabbani groups of schools, said every child, regardless of their abilities, deserves access to quality education and the opportunity to lead a fulfilling life.
If you're a parent and you're hiding your kid at home, please do not, because you find that maybe a child has stayed at home for 19 years and then comes to school, has never gone to school, and then they first start coming to school at 19 years. That child has to start from PP1, PP2, and that's very demotivating because they find other learners who are 6 years and you're 19 years. So please don't keep your child at home. Come join us here at Rabbani Special School for the Deaf, and we will give your child maximum attention, and at least take your child to school. Don't let them stay home. They need their minds to be educated and to be functional individuals in the society.
We have a program of civic education. Always we talk to them. We advertise at the mosque. We sometimes, whenever we have a meeting of the parents, when you're closing, every time, we talk to the parents and tell them that they are welcome. Don't shy off that you have a special kid. We are going to support you, bring them, let them study, let them be with the community. That stigma is there, but because of this civic education that we have in our community, they are coming in large numbers.
The school has a team of experienced teachers who are fluent in sign language. Maureen Kangete, the school principal, said the International Day of Sign Language is an opportunity to raise awareness of sign languages and the importance of inclusive education for deaf people.
About teaching, you also have to be very patient with these learners because, they are disabled, but at the same time, they are very bright learners, so do not undermine them in any way. Another thing, you also have to be very direct with them. Be very direct on what you're saying because they are also very direct people.
The Samek Bashir Special School stands as a symbol of Kenyans' commitment to inclusive education and the empowerment of children with special needs.
Most challenges that we have is lack of trained teachers in sign language or special education. Those who are dealing with the autism, we don't have trained teachers. So every time we have to advertise, we have to look for. That's the most challenge that we have. Also, the stigma of that, you mentioned it, of parents are afraid of, to bring the kids. Maybe they think that they are cursed, so they don't want to bring to the school.
Nominated Member of Parliament Mulher Arun has tabled a draft bill to the National Assembly seeking to have basic sign language incorporated in school curriculum if a draft bill sails through the National Assembly.
In Kenya, parents hide their children who are deaf or have any disability due to stigma. Also, they are afraid of taking their children to Christian schools. They fear their children will be taught Christianity.
The Kenya Sign Language Bill 2023, sponsored by nominated MP Mulher Arun, seeks to provide for the recognition, promotion, development and use of Kenyan Sign Language. September 23rd is International Day of Sign Language that offers a unique opportunity to support and protect the linguistic identity and cultural diversity of all deaf people and other sign language users. Reporting for the Muslim Insight, I'm Lena Mose.
Thank you for that report, Lena. A very beautiful story that reminds us that disability is indeed not inability. Now we're going to go on a short break and come back with a review of the Friday bulletin, so do not go anywhere.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation. Verse of the day.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والذين إذا أنفقوا لم يسرفوا ولم يقتروا وكان بين ذلك قواما. والذين لا يدعون مع الله إلها آخر ولا يقتلون النفس التي حرم الله إلا بالحق ولا يزنون ومن يفعل ذلك يلقى أثاما.
Abu Najma with Kids is where all kids come for stories.
Our story is about the Arabs then.
Stories that educate.
What do we call this in Arabic? Boys. 3,000 for boys. Clap for boys.
Stories of Deen and Dunya.
A camel tells the horse, "Hey, I am strong. I can go very far away." And the horse says, "I am faster than you." And they fight.
And making it more fun, we introduce.
Okay, what's my name? So it's Najma with the
more fun facts.
Rice is baris, and baris is rice. Rice is baris, and baris is rice.
Come learn and enjoy.
Muharram, and then Safar, Rabiul Awwal, Rabiul Thani. These are the elements in Islam.
Join us on Abu Najma with Kids every Monday at 4 p.m. only on Horizon TV.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون.
Enyi mlioamini, munapoitwa kuhudhuria swala ya Ijumaa, fanyeni haraka kuikimbilia, muache biashara zenu, hilo ni bora ikiwa mwelewa.
Isikilizeni kwa umakinifu khutba ya Ijumaa
ili uzidi kujenga imani yako na kupata faida nyingi ya siku hii.
Coming to you every Friday from Jamia Mosque, Nairobi.
Live on Horizon TV.
Kuna faida gani twapata tukimjua Mtume sallallahu alaihi wasallam,
nabii mwenye ushawishi mkubwa duniani?
Tukizikwa tukitiwa kaburini, tutaulizwa haya maswali matatu: man rabbuk, ma dinuk, man nabiyuk.
Sheikh Jamaluddin anakupa simulizi.
Huwezi kumpenda mtu usiyemjua
na kutambua sunna zake,
lakini ukimjua na ukimtambua Mtume Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, mapenzi yako yatazidi.
Ufahamu Rasulullah, familia na maswahaba wake. Tazama sira ya Mtume kila Jumatatu saa 1 jioni kwenye Horizon TV.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much for staying with us here on Horizon TV, and we're back with the review of today's Friday Bulletin. Joining me in studio is none other than Mr. Muslim Ali. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How are you?
Alhamdulillah.
I think it's usually really nice to have you with us in studio. We always have a very interactive session, and thank you so much for finding time in your busy schedule to join us this Friday.
Thank
and
you for the invite.
We're looking at the front page of today's Friday Bulletin, and I know this is something we're discussing. Chief Kadi reveals plan to end moon-sighting differences. Yeah, I know you said it is a very possible situation, and maybe you could tell us more about that.
Well, thank you very much for the invite once again, and assalamu alaikum to our viewers. Well, this is quite a laudable move. The Chief Kadi, of course, has had this principle since he was given the opportunity to serve as the Chief Kadi, to sort of unite the community, because there's been a lot of areas where the community has not acted as one, and it has really worked against the community and the overall goal and interest of the community, despite the fact that we have the best guidance. We stand out to be the most divided or disunited, unlike other communities. So this is quite laudable, and it's possible. Of course, the differences are there, and they're healthy. And in terms of moon sighting, it's quite legitimate in terms of the differences, because of the different schools of thought that people belong to, and they're quite valid. However, there has to be what we call the etiquette in terms of people differing.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, people have to agree on something that brings them together.
Yes.
In other countries or other places, we have seen where people have agreed that the actual day of Eid and a holiday to mark Eid would be a specific day. But then those ones who maybe break their fast earlier are okay to do so.
Yes.
But then they pray together the following day, or the day that is really generally agreed by the entire community to hold their prayers. So people can go ahead and maybe break their fast, not fast today, I mean, being Eid, as they believe, but then tomorrow being now the Eid declaration day, or the declared day for Eid, then we all join to pray together, so that we don't have people praying today and tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, because now that is highlighted. It's not supposed to, but in a country like where we are, it's really highlighted, because it has to continue portraying us as a very disunited community.
It is true.
So I allowed this effort, and I'm sure once the Chief Qadi, with consultation with other leaders, the Majlis Ulama, Jamia, and the CIPK, the Kenya Council of Imams and Ulama, and all other institutions, once they come together and agree on a strategy of how to mark and celebrate Eid, that will be the beginning of at least uniting the community.
Very, very true.
Yes.
And when we talk about also the Chief Qadi he is a beacon, or he shows that he brings the Muslim community together. It's also important to also remind ourselves as Muslims, what do you think about now, what role do Muslims have to play when it comes to ensuring that we make it easier for the Chief Qadi, we band behind him as well?
It has been unfortunate that within our community, I think quite a number of people want to become either leaders, or they think they're quite clever, or they know too much. Unlike other communities where we've seen, however weak the leadership is, they all rally behind that leadership and give it legitimacy, and give it, the respect that it deserves, and therefore every other person will see that as the leader.
Yes.
But we are very quick to go out and condemn our leaders, and ask who chose them, as if we also are in position to have been chosen, because every other institution will carry a question of who actually does it represent.
Yes.
Every other institution will be asked, who is your constituent?
Yes.
But when we say, for example, if we say SUPKEM is the umbrella body of Muslim institutions or Muslim organizations, let's give it the respect it deserves. If we say it's Jamia Mosque that is carrying the mantle of all masajid in Kenya, let's respect that. Let's not start questioning, so who chose them? Who gave them the mandate? So once we start questioning that, then that is the beginning of that disunity. So let's respect that the office of the Chief Qadi is there, and it has been there before even the birth of this country. I mean, before independence, it has been there. And what was the role it was playing then? It was playing both administrative and judicial role. Right now, of course, it's more concerned, more confined to the judicial role, but it still has quite administrative role to play. So looking at our history, we just need, for me, to, I call on us as Muslims to respect the office. And if it's the office that is going to give us direction, if it's the office that is going to give us that unity, then every other person should rally behind it and not start saying then who chose the chief Qadi. Because he was chosen by virtue of being a Muslim.
Very, very
the
true.
office, we are the ones who fought for the retention of the Qadi's court. Why did we fight for it? If we do not recognize its leadership, you see, so that is the most important thing, is that let's all rally behind the Chief Qadi's office,
yes,
and give them the mandate, support their mandate, and give them the support they need, or the office needs, to discharge, not only discharge its mandate, but also go ahead and unite the community.
Very, very well put. And now we're moving on to just to touch briefly on what happened last week. The Jamia Sign Language Center held its graduation ceremony. And it's very, very interesting, very, very nice, because we're also seeing that a bill is also being passed in Parliament, the Kenya Sign Language Bill of 2023. And it's a very, it's a step forward also for the deaf community as well. And what do you have to say about this, Mr. Musa?
Yeah, I must congratulate Jamia Mosque for being the pioneer institution that that came up to offer an opportunity to our community members, yes, who are challenged who have challenges in terms of hearing, and because they were suffering, they were isolated, they were being actually supported by other communities other than the Muslim communities, and we were actually also losing quite a number of them to other religious traditions, because that's where they could find support. Jamia Mosque, alhamdulillah, came up and started the program, not only to bring them together, but also to offer them an opportunity to learn. And this is quite laudable, and it's coming at a time when, of course, 23rd was declared by the UN as the International Day, you know, to celebrate people with hearing impairment. But also, it's also coming at a time when there's a bill being moved to actually help our members of community who have this challenge, yes, get the support and be included in the mainstream development of society, because they're quite talented, they have a lot to offer, but they have not been given that opportunity. Yes. Yes.
And just to move on to the second page, we're also seeing the Muslim Education Council. We're just going to briefly touch on that, because I have two stories that I want us to take more time. The Muslim Education Council initiates the madrasa registration to improve education standards, and we saw that the Vice Chairperson, Dr. Ahmed Yusuf, while talking to Horizon TV, he said that this actually helps, you know, instead of people assuming what is taught in madrasas and duxis, they know that there is a curriculum that is finally being followed. What do you have to say about this?
Well, that's one area that actually we really need to support the MEC, because that's another area of, unity, enhancing unity. So bringing madrasas together, registering them, because most madrasas are not registered. And when you're not registered, you cannot pursue certain things, because you're not legally constituted. Yes. You're just there. So it's good for them to not only register with the MEC, but I'm sure MEC's goal is to just help them improve the infrastructure, maybe help them pursue the legal status, register themselves as an institution. And also with the madrasa, the uniform madrasa, it helps us as a community, because what has been happening is that when you cross over from Garissa and you go to Mombasa, you find that the curriculum being used in madrasas is different. So you are at one level here, but then when your parents transfer or they move to another place,
yes, you
you miss out because you find that that level is not in that area.
Very, very true.
And also, then our madrasa certificates are not recognized because they're not one. You know, every other madrasa offers its own curriculum and offers its own exam, you know, testing instrument, and therefore it tests you according to them and not according to a unified process.
Very, very true.
So that makes it weak, and the initiative by NEC to have one curriculum, a uniform curriculum, and then to have madrasas recognized. They are now recognized under the Act of the Minister of Education, Minister of Basic Education. So that is a very, very good milestone that we have come so far with the support and the initiative of NEC.
Yes, very, very well put. Now, I just want us to move to the 6th page of the Friday Bulletin, and I want us to discuss what the Mombasa senator said the other day. He's urging imams and marriage officers to embrace mediation courses, and this is just to cite the issues, or rather when the cases that have been brought to forward to the Chief Qadi when it comes to marriage annulments. He's saying that people have neglected dialogue as a means of, or as a way of leading to misunderstanding, and also he's citing poor communication. And from someone who does mediation from the Maslaha Mediation Center, I know this is something that you're very well knowledgeable on. You could probably tell us how important is mediation when it comes to solving crises in marriages?
Thank you very much. This has been my dream, and inshallah, it seems like it's going to come true eventually, because we have had quite a number of challenges when it comes to family, when it comes to community matters.
Yes.
And people find it so easy to run to court. Now, even with the government, with first of all the constitution appreciating that there is alternative dispute resolution mechanism that has to be followed.
Yes.
It is enshrined within the constitution of this country, and the courts several years ago embraced it, and they even put up mechanism. So right now, like in many other countries, you are encouraged first of all to seek mediation before you actually go to court. Because mediation is normally a win-win situation. So no one comes out aggrieved. But when you go to litigation in court now, there is normally a person who will win the matter and a person who will lose. And sometimes the person who will win might not necessarily be the right person. I mean, in terms of justice. It's just the way they have presented their matter, the way they have argued. And the person who will lose is not necessarily because they did not have an argument or they did not have valid reasons, but it's just the way they presented them. So there is normally bound to be dhulma in the process of litigation, because it's the best person to argue, the person to hire the best lawyer, and to some extent, the person who can throw around some resources to get away with certain things, you know, in terms of corruption. So mediation is the best way to go. And in any case, people in society run to the imams, run to like those marriage officers. Most marriage officers are actually imams and madrasa teachers.
Yes.
So people will run to them. I have this problem within my family. I have this child who is having this problem. How can you help me? What do I do? So it's good for them to have the skills to be able, even if not professional skills, but just first aid skills, to be able to provide some first aid measures so that they can now refer them to the most competent and the most qualified institutions that now offer proper institutionalized mediation. So indeed, every imam, and every madrasa teacher, and every Muslim marriage officer should be equipped with mediation skills, because then this will help us reduce the abuses that happen in marriage, reduce the number of divorces that some end up in court, some do not even end up in court. What goes to court is very minimal. We see it as a big number, yes,
but it's very minimal.
But when we actually go into society and look at the number of divorces, they are huge. The number of divorces that are not even registered, the number of abuses, the number of abandonment, a wife being abandoned with the children, or just within even the number of orphans who are being exploited by their surviving, relatives, just because their parents have departed. Now, whatever little that was left for them has been taken by some family members. Look at our institutions. We have, like the Institute of the Waqf, we have a lot of resources within the Muslim community. But because of continuous infighting,
yes,
in terms of leadership, in terms of management, those awqaf end up not benefiting the community, and the community languishes in poverty, yet we have a lot of resources because we are now all fighting on the control of those resources.
Yes.
So it doesn't really matter. So basically mediation is key, and if people have those skills, they are able to mitigate, they are able to help society address on a very minimal level issues before they escalate and become bigger and they go to court. And once issues are taken to court, they drag. It takes years for a matter to get finished. So mediation would be the best, because in any case, it could be, mediation could be, it could take 1 week and you solve a problem or a challenge that has been there for 2 years, 3 years. A matter that was in court for 3-4 years can be solved with the mediation within a week or within the shortest time possible.
Very, very well put. Yes. And I'm being reminded, because of time, we're not able to do the next story that I wanted us to touch on. But I'm being reminded that today's Friday khutbah at Jamia Mosque, Nairobi, will be given by Sheikh Brother Abdul Latif Isaji, and the khatib will be Sheikh Ahmed Nur Muhammad. And the topic for today's khutbah is the Islamic view on the LGBTQ+ movement. And it's one of the things that I wanted us to touch on, where the MCs in Mombasa were taking a stance, and they had already gone to the streets to condemn the Supreme Court's ruling on allowing LGBTQ groups and their groups to register in the country. And it's very, very sad that we've been talking about this countless times. We've been trying to safeguard our views, and obviously, as Kenya is a country that is very firm on its stance, and today's khutbah will be about that. So I know that before we finish, you'd probably want to add something very short on that, and then we can end the discussion.
Well, thank you. I really wouldn't want to add anything, because I know Professor Abdul Latif Isaji is really, really capable of handling that topic, and of course also in terms of communication mashallah, it's quite good. So I'm sure the message will come out loud and clear, and maybe the Friday Bulletin will cover it in the next series.
Yes.
So inshallah we might want to discuss it then, because then a lot of issues in terms of what the law says and what the Quran and Hadith say, and basically the Africanness in us.
Yes.
Where are we at in terms of those issues?
Very,
I'm sure Professor Isaji will address that, inshallah.
Yes. Once again, thank you so much, Mr. Musa, for joining us here.
Welcome.
I wish we had more time, because there are a lot of discussions still inside the Friday Bulletin. For anyone who will be able to receive their copy today, they'll be able to see much more on what we have discussed. Once again, thank you so much for joining us in the studio. Unless you have anything else you'd love to add on before we go.
No, thank you so much. Once again, thanks for the invite. Yes. And we will continue reviewing the Friday Bulletin.
Inshallah, next Friday.
Inshallah. next series.
Yes, and that brings us to the end of today's show once again. Thank you so much for staying with us here on the Muslim Insight. That was the Friday Bulletin Review with Mr. Musamale and I, Nadia Osman. Until next Friday, ma'as salam.